My name is Stretto. Welcome to episode 3 of Pink Elephant Foxtrot. Foreshadowing. On the morning of February 25th, 2021, I witnessed a fleet of 9 to 10 flying discs, or UAPs, hovering above a field at a local park. In the months that followed, my head was filled with images and subjects that weren't present before the sighting. They would overtake the content of Storyboard of a Dream, but getting to the truth wasn't easy. One of the images I shared in episode 2, Shootout at the Spacetime Corral, went through at least 10 different versions, most of which would have been perfectly suitable. But after I completed each of them, there was this intuitive feeling that they weren't quite right. I couldn't get to the images inside my head until I switched off the analytical side of my brain and turned my mouse into a Ouija board. I erased what I had done and started drawing freehand from scratch with no goal or preconceived idea. I let the mouse move itself, and when I stopped, I knew the image for Shootout at the Spacetime Corral was finished. There was another image that I labored over even longer than Shootout at the Spacetime Corral. One day I saw an image of Nikola Tesla sitting on a throne in one of the uncolored windows. The image was very clear and didn't take very long to complete. But there was an area above Tesla's head that bled into the next window, and I became obsessed with it for nearly 3 months. It was beyond important. In fact, it felt absolutely essential to the entire work. I knew that it had to be a bright sphere of some sort, but every color and approach I tried simply wasn't quite right. One day I erased everything and started drawing freehand, like I did with Shootout at the Spacetime Corral. I made a sphere and colored it dark yellow, and something inside my brain just clicked. Suddenly, I knew I was on the right path. I had an overwhelming feeling that the sphere was from space, so I placed a circle of blue in the center. But even after that, it still didn't feel quite finished. I spent several more hours staring at the computer screen until, out of frustration, I grabbed the mouse and started scribbling squiggly orange and green lines entering the sphere, much like I had done in the window Life in a Binary Thugocracy. When I finished, I felt my heart race, because I knew the image was finally correct. The name of the sphere appeared to me immediately. I called it the All-Knowing Eye. It was completed in early September of 2021. The Guests That Wouldn't Leave. On the evening of October 30th, 2021, I was talking to my neighbor when we observed a luminous sphere hovering in the sky. It appeared very close, and it looked like it was on fire. This is one of the first photographs I took, and in hindsight, there is already an uncanny resemblance to the all-knowing eye. That resemblance would transform into something much more profound a few weeks later. The sphere had discharges coming off its perimeter, and the fact that it bobbed and weaved in the sky seemed to rule out a planet or a star. Over the course of about an hour, the sphere moved west, and by 6:58 p.m. on October 30th, when I took this first video, it had moved all the way to the end of our street. There was an active corona surrounding the object that was visible to the naked eye. Each night, it appeared it would become brighter and more active before it flashed and expanded for a fraction of a second. When I examined the video on my computer and played it at quarter speed, the corona of the object looked quite curious. It was uneven and irregular and looked nothing like a star or a planet. During the first week of November 2021, the sphere kept returning to the same coordinates at dusk, moving west. I took photos and videos of it every night that week, but it was always after the object had arrived. On November 6th at 6:27 p.m., I was finally able to catch the object as it floated in from the south, moving north towards my neighborhood. It was still light outside. Notice how the sphere appears reflective, but not yet luminous. Soon after it would arrive, the brightness would intensify. This next video was taken a little later that same evening, on November 6th at 6:46 p.m., after the object settled into its usual place in my neighborhood, and you can see that it has become brighter and has a corona discharge. Up until this point, the only object I was able to photograph clearly was the sphere, but I knew it wasn't alone, and on the evening of November 13th, 2021, I was proven correct. Next on Pink Elephant Foxtrot, a special segment, previously foreshadowed, that helps explain the imagery in Storyboard of a Dream. It is called Foreshadowing? We don't need no stinking foreshadowing. Weather, seasons, Recurring colors. When I think about foreshadowing, I can't help but think of witches. Macbeth, The Wizard of Oz. There's nothing more obvious than the appearance of a witch to let you know something bad is about to happen. Music is the ultimate vehicle for such trickery, capable of delivering all manner of foreshadowing. Some examples of this are quite ingenious. In the first movement of Beethoven's Third Eroica Symphony, the French horn enters with the main theme several measures early, ever so quietly. At the rehearsals for the premiere, it was thought to be a mistake by the music copyist, but it was only Beethoven's purposeful monkey wrench. Italian opera composers had been using melody and texture as foreshadowing for years before Richard Wagner took it to an extreme in the late 19th century. He assigned musical themes, called Leitmotifs, not only to inanimate objects like gold, magic helmets, and swords, but to the characters themselves. There is something inexplicably primal about music and story combined with intense emotion. It tends to strike a nerve located light years past the twilight zone. Wagner went one step further, though. He had leitmotifs for the emotional state and even the desires of his characters, and it is at that point that opera fried Europe's collective brain and its magic helmet, starting with the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Of course, there is no direct correlation between Wagner's music and Nietzsche's eventual plummet into insanity, though it is tempting to go there. Once a devoted acolyte, Nietzsche later wrote of the composer, "Is Wagner human at all? He contaminates everything he touches. He has made music sick." I think I said the same thing once about the Grateful Dead. In fact, it could be argued that Wagner, on a strictly musical level, with all of his insane politics aside, was the Grateful Dead of his day. Going to and being seen at Wagner's operas in Bayreuth became a cult-like experience, sans Orange Sunshine, LSD, and tie-dye. Like a Grateful Dead concert, most of Wagner's operas lasted over 4 hours. The music was extremely loud and utterly meandering, and devotees were willing to travel long distances and do anything to get in. The Grateful Dead's Macintosh-powered wall of sound was just a twinkle in LSD guru Owsley Stanley's eye, so Wagner tried his best with the 19th century equivalent. Convinced that bigger was better, he hired an instrument maker named Hermann Ritter to make violas so huge they could barely be played. I shudder to think what would have occurred had Owsley Stanley and Wagner lived during the same time period. As Storyboard of a Dream progressed, I started accumulating a series of characters and symbols that I later realized could be used as visual leitmotifs. I hadn't planned to do so, it just happened, and I didn't know what they all meant at first. But now I do. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting our cast of visual leitmotifs for this Storyboard of a Dream. Zooming in from a golden cloud on No Wing and No Prayer, in the upper left we have our hopefully friendly brothers from another planet. In the Hall of Stars to the left of the windows, the purple dragon of technology, industry, and hedge funds. Some folks say he looks like Jeff Bezos. Others say they see just the glimmer of Tim Cook, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai, and even Chamath Palihapitiya in that arrogant eye. Whoever that eye belongs to, it seems to see itself as all-seeing and all-knowing. Below the purple dragon of technology, industry, and hedge funds is the all-knowing eye. This one's the real deal, folks. And hiding underneath the all-knowing eye, Red Fox. A fox so foul it needs 3 X's. To the right of the windows, fire from the crucible of space and time. There may be no escaping this for any of us. Fanning the fire, as always, is the crown of tyranny. And last but not least, Horace Blues, Deacon of Soul. Time to open up some of the windows in between the Hall of Stars. On top, we have a finishing salt of interdimensional pink elephant on the left, coupled with the ultimate game of tic-tac-toe, political science on the right. This is not a Randy Newman reference. Wait a minute. In the middle windows, on the left, orange mob mentality, and on the right, the tongue of the lion. Both can frequently be seen out on the town with the crown of tyranny. On the bottom, a small row of yellow and blue binary thugocracy. Off with their head! All of this lies above a pool of Tesla's Not the cars, not Elon Musk's, but the original real Nikola Tesla's energy. Within that yellow and red squiggly pool is an essence of blue evil that only unbridled technology, as gifted to monkeys, can conjure. And in the middle of that is a planet floating in the balance. Overture complete? Cue the magic helmet. Thank you for tuning in to episode 3 of Pink Elephant Foxtrot. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Music was by Tom Young. For information on how to custom order art prints of any of my UAP, Apparition City, or Storyboard of a Dream images, or if you would like to become a sponsor of the show, please get in touch. Stretto at pinkelephantfoxtrot.com. Coming up on episode 4 of Pink Elephant Foxtrot, Sherlock's Razor. Are the scientific principles of Sherlock Holmes, a fictional detective, also fiction? On episode 4 of Pink Elephant Foxtrot, the game is afoot.